Cool. So we're still looking at Cubase features, and I want to dive into the mixer here and show you guys a couple of more advanced features that I think a lot of guys don't mention about Cubase that I think is kind of one of the power features that makes it so essential for mixing for my workflow. So first and foremost is this mixer history and snapshots section here. So what this does is, let's say for example, we're mixing the track and we might not be too happy with it, but we know it's a kind of solid starting point. What we can do is we can kind of save a snapshot over here, and it's kind of like an undo point that you can kind of always fall back to. You can go ahead and edit some features here. You can change the EQs and that kind of thing. And you'll notice that each time you do that, under the history bar over here, it shows up in action, the time, details, everything that happens. The reason I think this is so incredible for workflow is it departs itself from the project's undo redo system, and it's kind of nested inside the actual mixer alone. So you have the ability to jump back to any of these steps in the history, and let's say for example we didn't like any of those changes, we can actually just jump back up here and jump to the most recent snapshot like this. So unfortunately with snapshots, the one thing that it does do that, might hopefully they're going to patch out in an update is it removes all of the automation from insert effects and that kind of stuff that's in the project. So generally speaking, when I'm at the mixer stage, when I'm getting like nitty gritty and really kind of indecisive with my mixing, I'll start to kind of render those tracks out, specifically the ones that have more heavy automation and stuff, because the snapshot system can create problems. So it's one thing to be aware of, that's why I'd probably use the history in this example. But when you close the project and open it up again, you might not have this history to use. So anyway, yeah, mixer snapshots very, very handy for being able to jump back to kind of like any moment in your mixing process, along with the history, being able to like backtrack certain steps in case you made a mistake or you did something that you might not want to, in retrospect. So another cool thing over here is this visibility setting. So what this allows you to do is jump in and actually turn off the visibility on the mixer of certain tracks that you might not be using. For example, I explained like my record group vibe in a previous video. We don't need to see that on the mixer. Inputs and output channel, we don't necessarily need to see that. I guess, stereo output is actually a good thing to have on the mixer because we want to check our levels. But we can also jump in here, stuff that might not be being used at this point, like the kick synth, because I know it's being sampled. We can turn this kind of stuff off to make our mixing experience a little bit more fluid in terms of like what we're actually seeing. The stuff that's not present in the project, we can just turn off. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. I find this is a little bit more clinical because now you have the exact kind of disposal of what tracks you want, regardless of kind of what kind of tracks there are, if that makes sense. However, at the top here, you've got a channel filter. So what this does is it allows you to choose what types of channels are being displayed. So let's say, for example, we don't want to work on our effects channels and group channels. We want to just mix our audio channels. Then we can jump in to the filter over here, and then we're only seeing the audio channels and the ones that actually matter in the project over here to make that judgment in the mix. So this is a nice way of being able to kind of like dumb down a very complex project that has like all these kind of like maybe synths that have been rendered that you're keeping there frozen that you might not be using. You can remove them from the visibility of the mixer. So in this section, I like to jump between whether all these tracks are visible or whether it's just my group channels. This is a handy thing, for that kind of like final mixdown stage where you don't want to jump in too far into each of those elements, but you want to make sure that the balance of everything is kind of coming through nicely. Then I'll highlight kind of like, filter out everything except just the group channels. Let's actually make these a bit larger now that we've got the real estate to do so. And this is handy for examples like, say, where the balance of our instruments is all sitting nicely, but we want to reduce the overall volume of the track. Then we can select all of our group channels, hold Alt-Shift, and you'll see now it's highlighted this Q-Link setting over here. And then we can just use our mouse to drag this down. And we're retaining the balance of all those group channels, but changing the kind of overall peak of the track, if that makes sense. So I do have a limiter and a maximizer on here just to get a nice level going out to my recorder. So it's not going to be completely accurate, but... So Snapshots works on EQs as well. So let's say, for example, make a snapshot here. I think I made 2 now. Okay, snapshot 7. Jump in here as well, and then change this like EQ of our hi-hats and stuff, or our percussions. Now, let's say, for example, we don't like that, then we can always just jump back to the previous snapshot, which was snapshot 7. But here's a cool thing, is you can kind of A-B between the snapshots. So let's just create a snapshot 8, and now we can jump between them. So it's a very cool way of being able to do things like if you're a little bit indecisive about an action, if you're at a spot in the mixdown where you're kind of like very happy with it, but you might want to change something, but you don't want to upset something too much, you can always just save a snapshot, tweak it a bit, and always jump back to that snapshot. So very, very handy little trick that. So I also want to show you guys another thing that Cubase has, which is also very, very nice for playing with the stereo wideness of a sound, or particularly kind of like shutting down the wideness. So just to accentuate the wideness on this sound, I'm going to use wider and boost it up quite a bit, just so we can get some visual of quite some wideness here in this scope. So here, Cubase has a different kind of panner. So you can use this, what's called a combined panner, and actually change the stereo field by dragging up and down, and where that field is placed by dragging left and right. So let's, for example, I might just want to turn the wideness down a little bit because it was a bit extreme there. Go slightly wide to the right-hand side, on one synth, and then slightly wide to the left-hand side on another. And you get this kind of like really cool spatial effect. You can even overlap them slightly. So let's say, for example, get this one to go slightly over, like let's say to like 25% or around there on the right, and then the other converse on the other one here. Where does it do it again? Oh, it's here. And you can automate that as well, which is pretty crazy, specifically for kind of like the psychedelic patterns, to specifically in breaks, to kind of like get them to really move around. So here, like, we can automate it. I know that sound, that kind of like secondary sound that it was, doing the panning thing with, is going to drop out there, and it changes the pattern here into a kind of more deeper psychedelic sound. So what I did was we just automated that kind of like narrow width into a full open stereo. Cool, that's about it. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel.